Good day and welcome to SCO BRICS Insight, where we look at what's really going on in the world of the BRICS. Now, in response to the Ukraine crisis, the United States and its allies imposed economic sanctions on Russian oil. In February 2022, later that year, they introduced a $60 price cap on Russian crude and import embargo on Russian seaborne oil with the aim of destroying Russia's economy while it continued the flow of Russian oil to global markets to prevent price hikes in the market. Sanctions also prohibited Western companies from providing services such as insurance, financing and flagging to Russian tankers that sell crude oil above the agreed price cap. Now, despite these measures, Russia successfully redirected its oil exports to alternative markets, including China and India. China primarily receives its Russian oil through pipelines, while India, which increased its seaborne imports by over 60% in 2023 compared to the previous year, has significantly increased its maritime oil imports. Therefore, India was mostly affected by the sanctions on the tankers. Now, media reports on Monday indicated that the outgoing Biden administration is planning to impose further sanctions on Russia, targeting its oil revenue by taking actions against tankers carrying Russian crude. Now, before I continue, I'd like to make an appeal. If you like and enjoy my videos, you can help me fund my channel and my website SCOBRICSinsight.com to further develop them. You can do this by making a small donation, which is done by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom of the video screen. Everybody who donates does get a personal thank you from me. And I'm thanking you all now for watching it. Now, discussions regarding sanctions against Russia's so-called shadow fleet have recently escalated, with the deranged diminutive old harridan Janet Yellen indicating that Washington is in the process of developing sanctions on tankers and is considering the possibility of imposing measures on Chinese banks as it seeks to reduce Russia's oil revenue. In December 2024, the EU passed a 15th sanctions package targeting dozens of vessels of what the Western officials and media refer to as Russia's shadow oil fleet. Now, New Delhi is closely monitoring these developments since the escalation of the Ukraine crisis in 2022. India is the second largest buyer of Russian oil, and it will take China this summer as the number one buyer. Plus, India has increased its sales of crude oil to third parties and vastly increased its sale of petroleum products worldwide, particularly to Europe. So it and Russia needs to increase their tanker fleet to protect themselves from any new sanctions. Now, the size of tanker fleet really varies significantly, with capacities from a few thousand metric tons of deadweight to ultra-large crude carriers capable of carrying 550,000 tons and a cargo of 3 million barrels. That's equivalent to 500 million litres. Now, these vessels play a crucial role in global oil transportation network, with an annual cargo transportation capacity of 2 billion metric tons, make them second only to pipelines in terms of efficiency. I mean, the average transportation cost for crude oil by a tanker ranges from $5 to $8 per cubic metre, or 0.2 or 0.3 per US gallon. In addition to standard tankers, there's been the emergence of specialist vessels such as Navy replacement oilets, which enable the refueling of moving ships. Now, the construction of a new tanker typically takes around 2 years from order to delivery, with the actual construction phase lasting 9 to 15 months. In recent years, the industry has been seeing delivery of between 150 and 250 ocean-going tankers annually, almost exclusively built in China, South Korea and Japan. Now, the global oil tanker fleet is predominantly controlled by Western companies, with major international insurers also headquartered in Western capitals. Now, among the largest oil tanker companies are the Tokyo-based Mitsui O.S.K. Lines, which is a notable player, and it has a fleet of over 930 vessels with a total deadweight tonnage of 66 million tons. Now, these companies provide essential chartering service for oil companies and government agencies. The other notable owners of substantial oil tanker fleets are the Canadian TK corporations, Denmark's AP Moller-Maersk and DS Torm Frontline of Cyprus, Japan's MOL Tanker Management, and Florida Overseas Shipping Group and the Euronav of Belgium. Now, international law mandates that every merchant ship has to be registered under one country's colours, referred to as its flag state. Now, the flag state exercises regulatory control over the vessel, conducting regular inspections, certifying the ship's equipment and crew, and issuing safety and pollution prevention documents. Two largest flag registries for tankers are Liberia and the Marshall Islands, and they're managed by US-based firms. Panama holds the distinction of being the world's largest flag state for oil tankers, and it has 528 registered vessels. Additionally, 6 other flag states have more than 200 registered oil tankers, and these are Liberia, which has got 464, Singapore 355, China 252, Russia 250, Marshall Islands 234, and the Bahamas 209. In comparison, of course, the United States has only 50 registered oil tankers, so the term shadow fleet refers to vessels that typically conceal their ownership and the origin of their oil products. Now, this concept has been in existence for some time, and it emerged when Iran and Venezuela transported their oil under sanctions. The shadow fleets often consist of older tankers, and they lack proper Western insurance. That's their attitude. This leads to a lack of accountability for environmental incidents such as oil spills or in the event of an accident. Plus, these vessels are frequently banned from entering certain ports, prompting them to conduct oil transfers at sea. Estimates indicate that up to 18% of the world's tankers are part of the shadow fleet, which is approximately 1,500 of the 7,800 tankers in the global fleet fall in this category. Now, media reports suggest that Moscow has been levering shadow fleets to sell a significant portion of its oil above the $60 a barrel price cap. Now, at one point, these tankers were responsible for transporting 70% of Russia's seaborne oil. Now, the volume of such transfers nearly doubled in the first year following the escalation of the conflict in Ukraine. And according to a Bloomberg report, Russia's invested around $10 billion in its shadow fleet since early 2022, and this strategy has significantly undermined the effectiveness of the sanctions. In fact, they're not effective at all. They haven't made much of a difference. I mean, Lloyd's List Intelligence, which is a London-based maritime information services, has reported that more than 630 tankers, some over 20 years old, are currently involved in shipping Russian and Iranian oil, and that is subject to sanctions. I mean, the Russian fleet is on average 3 to 4 years older than the fleets serving the major Arab countries, with most vessels under 20 years old. However, since 2022, Moscow's pivoted all its oil exports away from Europe, where its major oil trucks do not allow any ships older than 20 years old. And it now serves the Asian markets who have less stringent requirements. I mean, since 2022, Russia's been expanding its fleet, with CNN hinting that it had almost 600 tankers of varying capacities. I mean, current estimates suggest that Russia may directly or indirectly control anywhere between 1,200 and 1,500 tankers, and it's positioned itself as the largest shadow fleet ever. I mean, despite lower financial performance reported by Sovcomflot, which is Russia's leading tanker group due to sanctions, many of its tankers continue to deliver oil priced well above the price cap to Indian refiners. Now, this Russian shadow fleet operates with relative impunity. Even previously blacklisted tankers are now functioning more freely. Concerns regarding potential Western financial repercussions for customers accepting these ports have waned. Operators have become more transparent about their activities and locations at sea, moving away from previous efforts to conceal their operations. They're not afraid anymore. I mean, some oil continues to be transported but owned by ship owners and insured by insurers that are subject to the price cap insulation, but not that many. Shipping documents, sometimes stamped by Russian companies, may falsely attest that the sale price does not exceed the price cap. Blacklisted ships just avoid Western ports and refrain from utilising Western services such as insurance or finance, and are owned by companies that are similarly insulated from potential penalties. That's why it's called a shadow fleet. I mean, these vessels transport an average of 48 million barrels of oil per day, with a likely remainder moving by pipelines to refineries. I mean, very few ships engaged in international crude oil transportation dedicate their entire capacity to work for Russia, Iran or Venezuela. As of 2024, about 25% of the global fleet is engaged in transporting Russian cargo, indicating the so-called shadow fleet is neither as distinct nor as obscure as previously perceived. I mean, this just illustrates the impotence among Western governments in hampering Russian oil exports. I mean, the global supply chain has highlighted the need for both Russia and India to expand their tanker fleets. As of 2023, India's oil tanker fleet had 197 vessels, an increase from 168 in 2018, with a combined weight tonnage of 12.7 million tonnes. Now, the Shipping Corporation of India, which is a state-owned enterprise, is the largest tanker owner in India, with a well-diversified fleet, including oil tankers of various sizes. However, many Indian ports face challenges such as constrained terminal infrastructure, draft limitations, insufficient tankage capacity, which necessitates careful scheduling for tanker arrivals, lighterage operations, unloading some oil off a vessel before it enters a port, are often employed to ensure a swift turnaround for tankers unable to dock due to these restrictions. Now, it's very clear now that there's a need for the expansion within the Indian tanker fleet to address these operational challenges. So, will India and Russia increase their tanker fleet? I think they will. Now, thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And if you want to help me out, click on the thanks button at the bottom of the screen. I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.